I've seen women stay in prison and get in trouble intentionally to stay on the compound with their girlfriend. What's up, you guys? Welcome to today's video. As you can tell by the title, we're going to be talking about people that literally stay in prison on purpose. Are they institutionalized? Why do they do this? What kinds of situations are they in? Mentally, physically, emotionally? I'm going to break all of that down for you guys today. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jess. I'm a person in long-term recovery that has served time in prison, and my entire crazy life story is in the description box down below. If you want to follow me on any other social media platform, TikTok, Instagram, Patreon, that's $2. It's only ever going to be $2. All of that is linked down below, as well as my vlog channel and my podcast. There's all kinds of stuff in that description box, so go check that out. And be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe. Hit the little bell. And if you do hit the little bell, there's a 50-50 chance that YouTube might notify you when I upload. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Do people really stay in prison on purpose? Are people institutionalized? What does that even mean? What the heck is this video? Well, people do 100% stay in prison on purpose. Now, first of all, let's talk about how they would do that, and then I'll get to more of the why. So how they do it, essentially, they just break the rules intentionally. Now, I know that sounds really bizarre. Just to back up a little, you can get written up in prison for all different kinds of things. Insolence to a staff member, I think it's called, that's just being rude to an officer. And that corrections officer can say like, oh, Kent said something crazy to me, she swore at me, she disrespected me. And the officer can write me up for that, for disrespecting an officer. You can get written up for disobeying a direct order. Now that's a really hard one, because if a corrections officer asks you to do something and you straight up say no, or you walk away from them, or you don't do what they're asking you to do, you're gonna get written up. And it depends on that officer whether or not they're gonna take you to seg right then and there. So that sucks. You can get written up for trafficking and trading. That's literally, I gave someone a suit. And based on my own personal opinion, and I know that this is very biased, I think it's harder on women as far as write-ups than men. Let me explain before you guys get upset in the comment section. Most of my friends are men, and they have been to prison. And every single man I ask, like, did you ever get written up for trafficking and trading? The answer is pretty much no. I've also been written up for talking in the hallway. Now, this is something that Arkansas does, and I talked to a corrections officer that was transferred from the men's unit over to the female unit, and I said, hey, the guys talk in the hallway, do you write them up for that? And he's like, no, it's loud as hell in the hallway. Right there, when I was told that, back when I was in prison, I was mortified. Like, what do you mean you're screaming at us for talking? But the men, you can't even hear yourself think in the hallways because they're talking. I think this is just a scenario where men tend to stick together and they realize like, hey, if we stick together, they can't send us all to the hole for talking, and then they're not gonna nitpick you for talking in the hallway, giving away a soup, blah, 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 right? So the write-ups can range from something as simple as giving somebody a soup all the way up to disrespecting a staff member, getting into fights, verbal altercations, physical altercations. You can even be written up for being out of place of assignment. So that means if you were me and you learned that, hey, if I take a kite from one girl in my dorm and I take it, you know, to a different housing unit and take it to a different dorm, I'm gonna get paid for that because there's a risk involved that a lot of inmates don't wanna do because they're afraid they're gonna get written up. So I kind of made a hustle out of that, and being out of place of assignment is a write-up that I've gotten before. You're not allowed to go to a different housing unit, you're not allowed to go to a different dorm, but you know, I'm small and I tried to sneak through and just kind of fall in line. If I see another dorm going to the chow hall or whatever, and I just happen to be in the hallway and I have a kite for somebody, I'm gonna pass it and I'm gonna get it to that housing unit. Side note, that has nothing to do with this video. I did make the mistake quite a few times before I learned that those kites weren't getting there. I made the mistake of giving a kite to a different inmate instead of directly handing it to who it's for. And a lot of times, other women will just throw the kite away so they don't get in trouble. And once I realized that was happening, I was like, just tell me no. Tell me no that you're not gonna pass it. Don't tell me you're gonna do it and then you throw it away because you get scared. It's a letter. Anyway, I digress. So, staying in prison on purpose is something that is very, very easy to do. If you get written up, what prisons do is they put it in your jacket, they send you to the hole, and they can take away your good time if you have enough write-ups. Then if you go to the parole board and they're like, oh, well, you've had 27 disciplinaries in the past 2 months alone, they can take your good time away and they can make you stay. I've even seen plenty of girls in my time be put in ad seg, where the administration determines that you have to be in segregation because you can't follow the rules, because you can't follow the rules on the compound. And some people want to be in ad seg. And again, sounds crazy. Ad seg is very similar to solitary confinement, except in administrative segregation, because it's not one thing that you did. It's not technically punitive segregation. Ad seg is where they place you in segregation and the administration determines we're gonna let you out later on down the road. Punitive segregation is where you have a 30-day sentence in seg, 60-day sentence in seg. Administrative segregation is however long they feel like it, which is horrible. So let's get back on track with people wanting to stay in prison on purpose. Now that we've determined it's very easy to stay in prison on purpose because there's so many rules that you have to follow, that you're constantly being watched and monitored, and it's not easy. Prison is not easy. I think we can all, 2 and 2 is 4. We can all figure that out, right? Prison's hard as hell. Moving on. Why? Why would somebody want to stay in prison on purpose? Now, this can stem from all different kinds of reasons. Let's talk about the first one. Girlfriends. I've seen women stay in prison and get in trouble intentionally to stay on the compound with their girlfriend. And that is something that I could never understand, because in my mind, okay, you fell in love in prison, you're more valuable to your girlfriend in the street. You can get a job, send her money, send her books, and you can really be supportive while at the same time not sacrificing your own freedom and your own life. And you can start to build something more concrete on the outside. That was always my line of thinking. People fall in love in all different kinds of scenarios. I am not judging that. The only thing that I was taken back by is, why would you stay in prison on purpose? Girl, go get your shit together. Get a job, try to get an apartment. That way when your girlfriend, the person that you say that you're so in love with, has something to go home to. Because in so many instances, people in prison have nowhere to go. They don't have family. They don't have resources. They don't have, a support system at home, and they simply just can't afford to live outside of prison, which takes me into my next reasoning is, a lot of people are afraid to go home. And that is just a really harsh reality of prison. A lot of people are afraid that, oh my God, I can't get a job. I'm a 4-time convicted felon, 2-time convicted felon. Prison is what I know. I don't know how to live any other way. I come from an area where there is extreme poverty, no employment. Everyone's in Section 8 housing. That was my life, right? That was my entire life. My hometown is like a ghost town. It's falling apart. These houses are abandoned. No one is wealthy where I'm from. Not even wealthy. People are just scraping by. And as I, served time in prison, I figured out really quickly that a lot of people were from my same circumstance. And they had very little growing up. They had very little resources, and ultimately turned to a life of crime or dealing so they could eat. And I'm not justifying it. I'm explaining that life is really hard when you come from nowhere. I'm from nowhere in New York, upstate New York, and while it's very beautiful, there's nothing there. So I've been seeing a lot of tweets recently of people not wanting to go back to work to, minimum wage after the pandemic. And people were like, well, why would you want to work a minimum wage? And I just always thought well, no one really wants to, right? But the idea of being homeless and starving is great motivation to do whatever you have to do, right? Well, if you come from nowhere and there are no jobs and you can't even get a leg up, you can't even catch a break, well, starvation and homelessness is great motivation to do whatever you have to do. And a lot of people don't get it, unless you've lived that life. Not knowing where your next meal is coming from, not knowing if you're gonna have to sleep outside tonight in a gazebo in a park somewhere, then you don't really understand that fear. So maybe they fell in love with a girlfriend. Maybe they come from nothing and they're afraid to leave. And that's kind of what being institutionalized means. It means that you're afraid of life on the outside, you don't have any resources, and you're very accustomed and used to prison life. There's a safety net there almost, where I know where these 3 meals are coming from. I have a roof over my head. And being institutionalized is not an easy thing, but it is a very common thing. You would think that everyone would be excited to leave prison, but more often than not, we're afraid to leave prison. We're nervous. We don't know what life is gonna be like on the outside. We don't know if we're gonna be able to stay sober, get a job, get on our feet. And those obstacles that are placed in our way are enormously difficult. And some people just feel as though they can't. They feel as though they can't succeed in the outside world. And that comes from being told all their life that they're nothing, being told that they're a criminal, they can't succeed. Oh, you'll just be back to prison. You'll come back to prison. You're nothing. You can't get a job. Good luck, inmate. I'll hold your mail for you. We're told that every day. Now, not only do prison guards do this, but a lot of the women that I've met in prison come from generational trauma. They've been abused. They come from the same background as I do, poverty and Section 8 housing, and they've been told all their lives that they're never going to amount to anything. And now here they are in prison, being told that every day, being condemned and put down and talked shit to by prison guards and other inmates all the time. It happens every single day. So if you were told long enough that you can't do something and you're never going to be anything, what do you start to believe? That, right? And that's just the cold hard truth of prison. And I know I get a lot of criticism for saying this, but prison is a dark, hopeless, heavy, stressful, violent environment. And while people just think that if you broke the law, you deserve to suffer, hey, I don't know why you're watching this video, because I don't believe that at all. I don't think that because we made a mistake, we deserve to be abused, talked down to, criticized, starved even. And prison life is really hard. I think the only punishment is our freedom being taken away. I don't think that I deserve to have PTSD because of my time incarcerated. And overwhelmingly, people do have PTSD. So I kind of want to add another reason why people might stay in prison on purpose. And this is just what I saw, what I heard from being in that environment and living in that environment every day. I didn't understand being institutionalized when I was 18. I didn't really get it. As I've gotten older, I have a bachelor's degree in correctional program support services. I've done additional time. Like, I know more now than I did at 18, but I remember at 18 thinking there's no way people can want to stay here, right? Even though I come from nothing. And I don't want to offend anyone when I say this, but this is just true. Some people feel like they're nobody at home. They're nobody. They come from nowhere. They feel like they don't have a real identity outside. This might fall back into being institutionalized, but a lot of people that I've met are somebody in prison. They feel like they're somebody anyway. Maybe they're the leader of a gang. Maybe they're a leader of a crew. Everyone knows their name. They have respect in prison. They have built rapport with people in prison. And when they come back to prison, they're shown respect and kindness and food, right? Now that is just, I guess that would translate to being institutionalized. But when you come home and no one gives a shit that you're home and you feel like you're nobody, but you go to prison and everyone respects you and looks up to you because you are a leader of some group or a gang or whatever it is. Even though that reinforcement is negative reinforcement, even though these people are in prison and you're back in prison, it makes you feel good when everyone knows who you are and respects you and your name carries some weight and you have a good reputation in the prison system. That's just part of it. I can't make this video without saying that some people think that they're nobody in the street, but there's somebody in prison. And that is so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking that many people don't believe in that, because so many people that I met in prison, they have leadership skills, they have entrepreneurial skills, they are talented artists, speakers, writers. I mean, I've just met the most talented people in prison, but that doesn't always translate when you hit the street. So I really hope you guys kind of understand what this video is about. This is just a cold, hard truth of prison life, is that some people stay in prison on purpose. I'm gonna end today's video here. As always, I love you guys. Stay safe, stay sober, whatever that looks like to you, because there is no wrong way to recover. And don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. Bye, you guys. Okay, cut. I have to show you my shirt. Look how cute. I know, right? This is from inkaddict.com. This is not sponsored. I think I saw it come up on like Facebook or something. Bye, guys.